Traveling
to
shows
the
us that
Amazing
even
Recovery,
though we may work a program in different ways or have different needs, we all have something in common
I'm your moderator
and can learn
today.
from each other.
I will open with the
Of course,
serenity
the journey
prayer.
doesn't stop today.
God, grant me the serenity.
We hope you
to
return
accept the things
when
I
other
cannot change,
podcasts are ready
the
for
courage
you
to change the things I
with
can,
more
and the
opportunities
wisdom to know the
to
difference.
seek understanding
Tradition
and
one
unity
reminds us
in diversity.
our common welfare should come
Unity
first.
with diversity
Personal recovery
statement.
depends upon
As we
OA
extend the heart
unity.
and hand
of the
This
OA
podcast
fellowship
is part of a
to
series
those
of
who still suffer.
podcasts taken from the
Let us be
WSBC
mindful of OA's Unity with
2017
Diversity
forum.
policy, OA Amazing
which
Recovery,
respects our
Passport
differences
to
yet
Unity.
unites us in the solution to our common
Please join
problem.
us on a journey
Whatever
of
problem
unity.
you may have with food,
Imagine the following.
you are welcome at
You
a
are
meeting.
traveling and find
regardless
yourself
of
needing
race,
a good
creed,
dose of recovery,
nationality, and OA
religion,
fellowship. Gender
you
identity,
slide into an
sexual
empty seat
orientation,
as the meeting
or
begins.
any other trait.
Right away,
The
you notice
opinions
something
expressed
different.
here today are those of
Your favorite
individual
reading
OA
isn't
members
included
and do
at
not
all.
represent OA as
The
a
leader
whole.
is speaking very quickly,
Seventh tradition,
which isn't helping your
please
serenity.
remember that we are self-supporting through
Uncomfortable.
our own contributions.
You try to settle in
Please use
and hear the
special
speaker,
workshop
only
meeting
to
number
discover that she isn't
822
exactly speaking your
78
language
when making
in more
your
ways than
contribution.
one. The World
You really
Service
need this
Office
meeting.
needs our support
At that moment,
to
you
continue
remember
to
something
serve
your
our
sponsor
fellowship.
once said.
Go to
Identify,
www.oa.org.
You decide to stay and listen
and click on contribution.
setting aside any
Thank you
differences
for helping
between
us carry
yourself
the
and the
message.
speaker. To look for
Additional
common ground
topics for
and
amazing
unity.
recovery, Passport
This
to Unity,
podcast is
will
your
be on the
passport
OA
to unity.
website, OA.org.
Today we'll have an
as part of
opportunity
this
to
series.
hear two different stories
I will close
of
this
diversity.
session with the OA
As
promise.
you listen to these members
sharing,
I put my hand in yours,
see if you
and
can
together
answer the
we can do
questions they ask.
what we could never do alone.
Would you get a stamp
No longer
on your
is there a
unity
sense of
passport?
hopelessness. No longer must we
OA
each
offers
depend
literature
upon
about
our
unity,
own
which
unsteady
includes
willpower.
a common
We are all
solution,
together now,
diversity,
reaching
and
out our
recovery.
hands for power and strength to stay
Greater
in
than
harmony
ours. With tradition,
And as we join hands, we find love
we
and
ask
understanding
the speakers
beyond
mention
our
only
wildest
OA-approved
dreams.
literature. Those speaking are being recorded. It is considered implied consent to have your voice and your share recorded and posted on the OA website podcast page, as well as other podcast feeds. To preserve anonymity, speakers will use only their first name or a fictitious name. Today's speakers will address topics around unity. They will present a different perspective of recovery, and each speaker will provide one or two questions along with their topic that could be used as a writing exercise for discussion or meditation.
This Passport to Unity segment addresses OA from the perspective of a fellow with health issues or disabilities. I would like to introduce Laura, who will be qualifying and then sharing on this unity topic for 15 minutes. Laura will also give some questions at the end for discussion or future consideration. Laura, please go ahead.
Hi. First of all, thank you for asking me to do this. It's an honor. My name is Laura, gratefully recovering compulsive overeater. I came into the rooms of Overeaters Anonymous at 409 pounds. Not having a weight problem all my life growing up, yet was made to feel less than. When I started gaining the weight, it was when I was unmarried and became pregnant, and I had to hide that big, dark secret. I made poor choices in relationships for a very, very, very long time, and bad habits of always being late, never being on time for things, marrying someone who ended up being, well, he was there and got married and had another child. And my weight just kept climbing. And in 1985 is when I came into the rooms of Overeaters Anonymous, and that September, I was told I was prettier than her, you're a better person than her, you're a better cook than her, but she had a better body. And it totally devastated me. And I found myself standing in front of a train that had stopped. I had tried to commit suicide. So that's how I was like. I ended up in a psychiatric hospital that had an eating disorder unit, which I was very lucky. I was very arrogant in that hospital. They tried telling me I could go into the eating disorder unit if I need to go on a diet. And I had said, I've been on a diet. I've lost hundreds of pounds. I was never able to keep those pounds off. I was very arrogant. And I said, okay, I'll try it, because their attitude was, meanwhile I had two daughters at home, 12 and 15, and didn't even worry about them at that exact time. It was suicide to me is a very selfish act, is what I had tried to do. I had my first sponsor I found in that eating disorder unit. The first time I sat in that eating disorder unit, I heard the way people ate the way I did. And I instantly became realization of I'm not alone. There's a way out of this dark tunnel. But it didn't just stop there. I'm a relapse survivor. And when I qualify, I always say relapse is not required. It's not a have-to here. After my relapse from May 21st of 2002 to July 4th, seeing pictures of myself, not realizing that it was even me, and I had put over 80 pounds on. Each morning, this is what I do on a normal basis every morning. Before I get out of bed, I pray to God. I tell him thank you for having me open my eyes. When I get up, I say thank you for having my legs walking. I let go completely of a relationship and turned it over to God almost 5 years ago. I am sponsored. I do sponsor. I go to meetings. Used to being on Long Island and having many, many meetings. Do not quite have them here in North Carolina. I started a meeting near where I live because I was getting tired of actually going to just phone meetings and taking an hour to go to another meeting. I meditate every day as well as saying good morning and good night to God. I do carry the message to others. I also realize today I'm a useful person in this life that I have. I have a few bests that have happened to me over the past few years. I had a relationship with someone many, many years ago. We reconnected, and make a long story short, I sold my house on Long Island and moved to North Carolina, where I got married. It'd be almost 3 years. I learned in these rooms how to have a relationship, how to have boundaries, what to allow someone, how to treat me, and how not to treat me. I have two grown daughters. They're now adults. They're 48 and 45. I have an incredible relationship with both of my daughters. I have 3 grandchildren of my own. My husband has 5 grandchildren. So between the two of us, we have 8 grandchildren and 6 children. My oldest granddaughter graduated from high school this year, and she is now in college. We're very, very proud of her. I have a great relationship with my grandchildren. I have a good relationship with my stepchildren and the grandchildren of my husband. Just like I was crazy before I came into the rooms of OA, I'm going to tell you a story of where I am and how my life changed in 2010. I have a good life today because of God and OA and all those listening to this right now. I live with a chronic disease, and I live with Overeaters Anonymous hand in hand. They must be hand in hand. When I came into OA, thought all the people were crazy, except I realized I was just as crazy as they were with doing these crazy things with food. For years, I would say probably about 15 years, I never knew what was going on with my body. I have multiple sclerosis. I have learned that I am powerless over it. I was diagnosed finally in 2010. I was using a walker and a cane for almost a year. Since I've been on the medication of Overeaters Anonymous, been on the medication for, my medication for Overeaters Anonymous is my food plan, following what my nutritionist says, and definitely living a life beyond my wildest dreams. I certainly prayed for God's will with this diagnosis. I had to do the footwork. I had all different kinds of misdiagnosis. You see, being a compulsive overeater, you can see what was wrong with me. It was very obvious. With the MS, it wasn't that obvious. I lost my vision in the left eye for 2 days. I was misdiagnosed with had a mini stroke. The only requirement for me with my multiple sclerosis is to make sure I'm compliant with my medicine. And that to me is a no-brainer. My other compliance with Overeaters Anonymous and what I have learned, which I really think I benefited by being in the rooms of OA before I was diagnosed, was eating healthy. No white sugar for me. No white flour, no alcohol. Today I ride a bike and I hike. Can you believe that? I pray for God to help me find someone that would hear me. I was very blessed with that doctor that heard me. And again, I had to put that footwork in. In December of 2016, I was starting to lose vision in my left eye again. I have a choice whether to pick up the food and put it in my mouth. I don't have a choice with the MS going into relapse. I have a choice with the relapse of the food compulsion by picking up the food and eating it. With the MS, I don't have that. It just happens. So today I choose not to pick up the foods that are not good for me. We decided that I was having the relapse with the MS, and I ended up on very, very high doses of steroids. It was right before Christmas of that year, and it was 1,000 milligrams of steroids 3 days in a row. I was really afraid of getting what I call ravenitis, eating the walls, the floors, and everything else in the refrigerator in the house. What I did was I spoke to my husband about it. I prayed about it. I made phone calls about it. And I shared it with my MS group of how afraid I was. For those people that understand this, by making myself aware and saying it out loud, it reduced the strength of what the steroids possibly could have done with the eating. I was very lucky I did not gain any weight, and grateful that I did not gain any weight during this time. I do service at MS Functions just like I do service at OA. My eating and my medication compliance have helped me become who I am today. Anything can be changed if I faced it, but nothing can be changed if I don't face it. I face the facts. This is who I am today, and I'm okay because of it. So thank you for allowing me to share my hopes and dreams with all of you. And I'd like to just throw some questions at you for you to maybe meditate on, sit and write on, share with others. And these are the questions that were suggested. Although I work my program differently, I can see how this person's experience might help someone I know, because I may never have struggled with and I identify as or use the format, but I'm able to identify because some qualities, experiences I share with this person are this person's recovery strengthens mine because I've lost the privilege of eating as a normal person. I've lost the privilege of walking like a normal person. I kind of weeble when I walk, and as long as I don't fall down. And I say, for me, God, thank you for being, thank you for this day, thank you for the fellowship of life, and thank you for being my teacher, and thank you for all of you.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you for sharing your experience, strength, and hope about unity. Thanks to the rest of you for joining us today as we explored Passports to Unity.
Hi, this is CJ. This Passport to Unity segment addresses Sizer and LGBTQ. First, I would like to introduce Mike, who will be qualifying and then sharing on the Unity topic LGBTQ. The speaker is also going to give 2 questions for discussion or future consideration at the end. Welcome, Mike. Thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you, CJ. It's a pleasure to do this. Hello, everyone. My name is Mike. I'm an abstaining, maintaining compulsive overeater from Denver, Colorado. And I'll share, for the first part of this, I'll share my story. I'm very fortunate in the fact that I have been in Overeaters Anonymous for almost 42 years. I was a fat child, I was a fat adolescent, I was a fat teenager, and I was obese into my early adulthood. So I know this disease from its very inception. I come from a good German, Irish, Roman Catholic farm family, and although we were never told that we were loved, one of the things that how love was shown to us was, of course, through the food. And in some respects, the more we ate, the more love we showed to our loved ones. The most difficult part with all of this was coming from a very small town where there were 60 of us in the high school. That's the entire high school. It was not difficult to see that I was not like all of the other kids, especially where the weight was concerned. I'm your basic sugar addict. I can eat the stuff whether it's frozen, baked, raw, thawed, or indifferent. And I have eaten moldy fruitcake under the auspices of I could use the penicillin. Well, the really sick part about that is my first degree is in biology education, and I know that penicillin needs to be refined, but that never stopped me. Food was my lover. Food was my life. Food is how I coped with everything in those early years. I'm most fortunate because my mom, 12-stepped me into this wonderful, blessed program when I was doing my student teaching and living with my parents back in 1976. I had gone to my first OA meeting with my mom in March of 1976. And the most important thing of it is, she told me to, quote, go find my own meeting, and here's one that's close. Of course, I did what every compulsive overeater would do. I ate for 2 weeks, and then I quote, officially joined OA on April the 6th of 1976. I have continued to go through the program of Overeaters Anonymous since that time. I'm maintaining between a 60 and 70 pound weight loss for probably 37 years. My current abstinence began on August the 5th of 1979, and I just wish to let folks know that this can be done. And the other part that's also very, very important is to let you know that maintenance can be done through all of these years. I've been able to wear the same size of clothes for the past, 30, 35 years. I always thought that I was big boned, but when you find out that you wear a size 14.5-inch neck shirt, that does not necessarily make you big boned, as I found out. The one thing that I also want to say about this is I never left. Even though I went through a severe relapse from January through August of 1979, I never left the program. I have averaged at least one meeting a month for all of the almost 42 years, or one meeting a week, for almost the 42 years that I have been in this beloved program. And that's one of the things that's so important. Now, the topic that I'm going to be sharing on deals with the LGBTQ community. And one of the main reasons that I ate compulsively was because I was a fat gay kid in Kansas, in a farming community in Kansas. I went to a public school taught by nuns, and I was basically preened for the priesthood. So here it was, I was using food to deal with all of this stuff. And being a fat gay kid in a small town and trying to hide all of that with all the attendant secrets was just an absolute horrid aspect. I came into Overeaters Anonymous, as I said, for me, I say I joined on April the 6th of 1976. And I was about 22 years and several months old when I joined. So I have been in this program for all of my adult life practically. And one of the things that I learned through all of that was that even though I might not be like everybody else, I'm a lot like everybody else. I did not come out in this program right away. It took me a while to finally get comfortable with myself and all to deal with that reality of my life. I used food. It was really odd because I used the food to keep myself at bay from folks. I wanted to be thin, I wanted to be attractive and all that, but I would use the food to abuse my body so nobody would want me. And it was one of those horrible situations. When I first came into the 12-step program of Overeaters Anonymous, I grew up on the Big Book and the AA 12 and 12. I was most fortunate in the fact that I had a sponsor who, during my horrid relapse, dealt with that. This woman knew all about me. She knew that I was a young gay man, and she did not care. She just wanted to see me get well. And one of the things that I wish to let you all know is that working the steps and the traditions, as well as the tools, helped me achieve and maintain recovery because I had to get out of myself. I found that being so self-obsessed and thinking I was the only little gay boy in the meetings and all that other stuff was a real crock because most folks never talked about it. And I can tell you that during the the mid-70s and early 80s, it was devastating to mention that you were LGBTQ because people really made life difficult for us. The thing of it was, my saving grace was working the steps and living the traditions. I'm one of those who really believes that the traditions, although they say they are for the group, the traditions truly are nothing more than me learning how to deal with the realities of life. And one of the ways that I did that was by getting involved in service. Service has been my conduit. Service has been my conduit into dealing with all of this, and I feel as though that given that grace and that willingness to do the work that's necessary to recover has been what has kept me going all of these years. Once I came out and all of this other stuff, I then had a responsibility then to be honest with others and to share my strength, hope, and experience, because we never know who's going to be sitting in those rooms. I wish I could tell you that I've just been perfect, marvelous, and stupendous with all of that, but being a compulsive overeater, I haven't been. What I have done through all of these years is to continue to come back and work through this. One of the most interesting things that happened during this period was we had, they started an LGBT meeting in the Kansas City area where I started, and the board was really confused as to what we really did and all this stuff. So they sent a board member to that meeting to make sure that we were following the steps and traditions. Well, knowing that they were going to do that, I was the one who suggested to our group, we have to maintain a very strong living of the traditions, especially that third traditions, where the only requirement for OA membership is a desire to stop eating compulsively. What happened then was that meeting, that LGBTQ meeting, became one of the more popular meetings because it was a no more BS meeting, because there was a great deal of honesty. One of the other things that I can say with being LGBTQ is that it does tend to set people off, but the thing of it is, I have to remember why I am there. I have to remember for me that I am there because I'm a compulsive overeater. Some of this other stuff is extraneous. And what I need to do is to, of course, live and be honest with the folks in my meeting, but also at the same time to focus on my commonality. And the commonality is that I'm a compulsive overeater. And in being a compulsive overeater, I just need to continue to do the work that I do, which is to work at the personal level, because I have a sponsor and I do sponsor. I work at the group level. I do have a service position there. I work at the intergroup level, at the region level, and at the world service level. I do that service work because it helps me maintain my recovery, and it also helps me to carry the message to someone who might be like me. We never know whose life we are going to touch when we share our strength, hope, and experience. I can tell you all that I believe that as I have learned in this program, that working the steps and the traditions has given me an insight not only into myself but into other people. And as I understand this recovery process, I did not learn to accept myself at the beginning, and I'll think that people are going to accept me right off the bat. I just have to continue to live this 12 steps and 12 traditions. This aspect has affected my recovery in the sense that I have become a sane, happy man within myself and with other people. And I no longer have to worry about what are other people thinking, because I realize that as I work and ask God to give me the grace to go forward, God gives me that grace and that stability to do so. And I would like to just leave you with a couple of questions. About all of this, living and being a member of the LGBT community, I have had to work with a lot of people who are non-LGBTQ, and I have learned through my experience that I have so much in common with you all. So here are some things that a couple of questions that I would like to have you think about and possibly share. And the two questions are, some qualities, experiences I share with this person are, and then the second one is, though, this person's recovery strengthens mine because. So when you stop and think about what has been shared, just stop and think how these things have affected you and your life. And I'm most grateful to have been able to share my strength and experience with you today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike. I'm so thankful for your sharing today.
Traveling shows us that even though we may work a program in different ways or have different needs, we all have something in common and can learn from each other. Of course, the journey doesn't stop today. We hope you return when other podcasts are ready for you with more opportunities to seek understanding and unity in diversity. Unity with Diversity statement. As we extend the heart and hand of the OA Fellowship to those who still suffer, let us be mindful of OA's Unity with Diversity policy, which respects our differences yet unites us in the solution to our common problem. Whatever problem you may have with food, you are welcome at a meeting, regardless of race, creed, nationality, religion, gender identity, sexual orientation, or any other trait. The opinions expressed here today are those of individual OA members and do not represent OA as a whole. Seventh tradition. Please remember that we are self-supporting through our own contributions. Please use special workshop meeting number 82278 when making your contribution. The World Service Office needs our support to continue to serve our fellowship. Go to www.oa.org and click on Contributions. Thank you for helping us carry the message. Additional topics for Amazing Recovery, Passport to Unity, will be on the OA website, oa.org, as part of this series. I will close this session with the OA promise. I put my hand in yours, and together we can do what we could never do alone. No longer is there a sense of hopelessness. No longer must we each depend upon our own unsteady willpower. We are all together now, reaching out our hands for power and strength greater than ours. And as we join hands, we find love and understanding beyond our wildest dreams.